From Carolla One Studios in Glendale, California, this is the Adam Carolla Show. Adam's guest today, Greg Fitzsimmons. With Gina Grad on news, Bald Bryan on sound effects, and a spirited round of tales from the cheap. And now, still writing 2020 on the documents he has Fondelier sign in protest. Adam Carolla.
Yeah, get it on. Got to get it on. No choice. They're going to mandate you get it on. Thanks for tuning in 2021, and thanks for sharing the show. And thanks, Naples, Florida, because Off the Hook, January 15th, 16th, it's almost sold out. So thanks for that. Good day, Gina Grad.
Good day to you.
Handball, Brian.
I don't like kids, and I don't like hugs.
Oh, yes. That's from yesterday's show.
Yeah.
Kaylin came through with grabbing a couple drops.
That was cathartic.
Is Fitzdog on hold still?
Yeah, he just
okay.
He's in the waiting room. You want to let him in?
Well, yeah. Give me 2 minutes because we'll do Tales from the Cheap. And I wrote down a few things. I think Gina and Bald may have something to contribute as well. Also, Fitzdog probably, he got a prompt on it as well, so he might have some thoughts about cheapness in the family. Also, you know, we grew up, at least I did, in a time, I think Gina and Brian too, Fitzdog for sure. Mike Lynch always famously tells us about the story about the bottom of the Chevette.
The floorboard.
The floorboard of the passenger side, I think on the, maybe it was a Chevette. That could have been Kevin Hench's mom's car, a diesel Chevette, like the slowest car on the planet. But either way, the rust got it over there in somewhere outside of Boston. And his dad used a stop sign and pop riveted on the floorboard to create a new floorboard, which is, again, it's cheap, but also shows some ingenuity. So
I was gonna say.
I kind of like it. I have a cheap and ingenuity story myself, which lost me a go-kart race, and we can get into that. So should we bring Fitzdog? Should we play the intro and bring Fitzdog on after the intro? Take your calls as well.
20-year-old Tupperware, homemade clothes, powdered eggs. It's time for Tales from the Cheap.
Oh, powdered eggs. Good to see you, Fitzdog.
Hey now.
I don't know if you guys were ever experienced the powdered milk, which was a thing back in the day. I had some friends. They'd have the Tupperware container, the tall boy Tupperware juice container with the flip spout on it. And I had a friend that did powdered milk, water, and maybe stepped on it with some actual skim milk, like cut it with some real milk. It just tasted like fucking watery ass. My thing was always, if you can't afford milk, you can't afford kids. Yeah. It's like the most basic product. Like
that's the entry level.
Literally a mother's milk. You know what I mean? Like if you can't fucking afford milk, real milk, you give those goddamn kids away. But Fitzdog, you grew up in a fairly affluent home with very interesting parents. I'm still very intrigued with your dad especially and your mom as well. But were they cheap?
That's exactly it. We had the money, but we didn't have the money. Like, they tried to live above their means. Like, we belonged to a country club, and it wasn't a fancy country club, but it had a golf course, and it was in New York, so it was all Italians and Irish. Mm-hmm. And it was called Knollwood, but my father would call it Cannoli Wood because of all the guineas.
Nice.
And we belonged there, but we didn't belong there. We would like my parents.
He didn't belong.
My parents bought me like these shitty children's golf clubs and no balls. And so I was forced for all the years we were there. I was the biggest thief at Knollwood Country Club. I would go in the men's locker room. And when the locker room guy wasn't around, I would go in the lockers and I would steal balls and change. Mm-hmm. And there was a snack bar, and we were given, my mother gave me a $10 booklet of money for a week at the snack bar, which basically meant you're going to have to steal coupons from other people's books.
Right.
Because everybody kept their books in a box at the snack bar, and I would just rip out dollar tickets so I could nourish myself.
That's how you
Stealing
stay
the
rich.
balls is the perfect crime there, because none of the golfers I know is going to know if they're missing one ball out of 12 or out of 15. You know what I mean? Just take a ball here, take a ball there.
Yeah. It was, unless it had like, sometimes they'd have their name on it.
True.
Yeah, monogrammed.
So you don't take those. You take the ones that are clean. You take the clean balls. And there was a lot of thievery, and we were like the white trash family at the country club.
Yeah. Fitz dog was trying to steal the balls, and it's like, God, these Titleist brothers are all over the fucking place. You can't avoid these guys. It's the Nike family and the Titleist family.
Right.
There's only two
They would
people
have,
at the
they would
club.
have buffets on Friday nights. They would have a buffet, and my parents would pay for one of us, and that one person would get a plate of clams and go to the side of the porch, give them to the other kids. It was like a fucking scam. It was like
move.
Yeah, it was like the Depression for us, but we wanted to belong to a country club, and so they crawled their way in.
I'm not sure what's worse, although I do think maybe it's a grass is always greener, but there's the cheap families because they're dirt poor, which at least has context. And then there's the cheap families who have some money, which actually is kind of rubbing it in, because now it's like they do have money. They're just choosing to make me steal clams, golf balls, and meal tickets. Yes.
When you talked about powdered milk, that just made me think of, we had friends growing up and all just, kind of regular middle class Kansas, whatever. But at one friend's house, we were only allowed to have two things for snack. And I had never heard of either of these, and I wouldn't recommend them to anybody, but the kids loved them. They were called Old Nellies or Whoa Nellies. It was a piece of white bread buttered with sugar on it.
Oh, yeah.
Which was horrific.
Yeah.
And then for dessert, you've heard of this?
That's not dessert.
Sounds like dessert.
No, for dessert, they didn't have ice cream because ice cream was too expensive. So they would freeze Cool Whip and dole that out. And that was your ice cream. But these were like regular middle, Kansas, they were our neighbors.
Yeah,
the thing about the powdered milk is it's really like the people, like back when I was poor and I could only afford to put in $4 at a time into my gas tank of my truck or something. It ends up being so much more work. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Without any savings whatsoever, and the potential of being stabbed at an Arco in Arleta at 4 a.m. Right. And running out of gas.
You had to go to the Arco because it was 4 cents cheaper a gallon.
The powdered milk it's not free. You have to buy a box of powdered milk, and then you have to make it. There is the production time. There's what are you worth an hour kind of thing. And then there's the final product, which is horrific. So you have the money, you have to spend the money, you have to take the time, and then the final product tastes nothing like milk. So for actually the price of a gallon of milk, you're probably breaking even once you factor in your own goddamn labor, number one. And then number two, the product is so subpar that it's essentially you're punishing yourself, but you're also reminding yourself you're poor.
Yeah.
Every single time you open the refrigerator, there's that big tub of powdered milk going, you're a loser.
Loser juice.
Loser juice.
And God forbid you want to have a friend come over for dinner. You're horrified. You have to hide your shame.
Yes. Yeah, I didn't have to talk my friends out of coming over for dinner. Once they
were on board.
Once they experienced the majesty of my mom's vegan lentil soup and actually eating a bay leaf that was floating on top of it and almost choking on it, it was like, we'll do my house and pork chops. And I was like, I'll be there.
My mother used to make a dish called, because I was born in the Bronx and my parents were poor growing up, so they never got out of, even though we had money, they never got out of that poverty mentality.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
My mom for dinner, I'm not making this up, she would make a thing called gluck, which she made up. And you take really low-end ground beef, you butter a pan, you sprinkle the meat into it, and then you serve it on buttered white bread, where it immediately soaks through and falls apart in your hands. No vegetables. I don't believe we had a salad once in my entire childhood.
Gluck.
That's a not a sloppy Joe.
Yeah.
No, because sloppy Joe would entail spices,
Right.
tomato
It's not
sauce.
a sloppy Joe. Yeah.
You're right.
Gluck is also the name of a short-lived Nickelodeon game show.
You got that stuff dropped on you.
Right.
Yeah.
I think the fact that it was scalding hot is what got the lawyers involved and shut down production almost immediately. Everyone went full Michael Jackson on the set of a Pepsi commercial. There's a timely reference.
That's right.
Good.
Yeah, my ingenuity meets poverty story was something I was reminded of recently, which is I went to an alternative school, kind of a hippie free-range school in like the 3rd and 4th grade. And we decided to have a go-kart race where everyone would build their sort of downhill coaster go-kart in the garage of this school, which was sort of a house. And then we would go have a big downhill race. And here's an interesting tidbit. The downhill race, there's not a lot of closed off downhills in Los Angeles. I mean, you could definitely go down to Silver Lake and find a slope, but you could also hit a car that's coming up the hill. The old zoo, the old LA County Zoo. People don't know this. Maybe you can find this somewhere, Max Zapata. The LA County Zoo, which is kind of in Griffith Park now, that's the new LA County Zoo. The old zoo, 100 years old, is further down the way, probably a mile or two away, and one up the hill, and was all closed off, but had those paths, those big, like if you picture the LA County Zoo, big wide walking paths going down the hill, had the old cages and stuff still in there.
Is there anything more haunted than an old zoo?
Yeah. Abandoned zoo.
Yeah.
They say if you close your eyes, you can hear the sound of a llama being sexually assaulted by a drunken keeper.
I've heard that.
The first zoo was called Griffith Park Zoo, and it opened in 1912.
Wow.
So
No idea.
by the time we got to the 70s, they just completely moved it, but they moved it like a mile up the road, and they built a new zoo. I wonder when it was decommissioned.
It closed in 66.
Well, I got to think if you make it through the Depression, if it started in 1912, those cages were not to keep the animals in. They were to keep people from coming in and eating.
Right.
With skewers.
Yeah.
Yes. So we then went up there and had the big day and the big race. And I was kind of the odds-on favorite because I was sort of the crackerjack. I was sort of the athletic kid, and I built a cool cart for myself and so on and so forth. But here was the issue. Wheels. Wheels ain't cheap. Like, they had the hardware store by my old house, and you could see those red wheels, if you can kind of picture those ones with the ball-bearing sleeve in the middle of them, and they had the 10-inch and the 5-inch and the 7-inch or whatever. Those things were like $12 a corner. And there's no fucking way the Carollas were ever going to buy a new set of wheels for their kids' go-kart, even though it would have been completely appropriate because it was a good project. I built the go-kart. Now let's go buy the wheels.
Yeah.
No.
Between the go-kart and cars, did your parents never spring for a new set of wheels?
Never. But I'll tell you, we had an old set of wheels, and the old set of wheels was my whole childhood. We had this old power mower, this lawn mower, the old school push the mower style with the blade on the bottom. And of course, the engine was all jacked up and the thing never ran, and it just sat in the backyard rusting out. And by the way, our lawn was either 3 foot high and brown or dirt. We didn't really, Max Bat, if you have the picture of me jumping my BMX bike in my front yard, you can get a glimpse of the majesty of the Carolla's front yard. It was just literally a dirt front yard. And somebody figured out, it was my grandfather who was sort of half involved with his family. I mean, with his with his grandkids in the sense that he was sort of there and was sort of like, well, you're going to build a go-kart. We got to get wheels for it. And he found this old, if you can see a picture of me doing a cross-up on my BMX bike when I was 11.
Sweet.
Catching good air, by the way, but you can see the brown dirt lawn that I was landing upon.
It's only brown dirt.
Wait, is that sunny?
This is SoCal too. This isn't like, well, once the thaw hits, we'll put some sod down. No, this is SoCal. People don't have brown lawns in the middle of Valley Village, but yet there we were. So my grandfather pulled the 4 small white plastic wheels off of the old lawnmower that had been sitting out there. But the problem with those wheels is they weren't ball bearing wheels. They were just a plastic wheel that went on to a nut and bolt. And the nut, I should say the bolt was like smooth and then threaded on the end when you put it inside of the mower housing, and it created a bit of an axle. But it was just a sort of plastic wheel rubbing on a steel shank. And
it wasn't built for speed?
No
What
action,
could go wrong?
no bearing. Like, I'll put it to you this way. If you would take one of those bearing wheels, put it on an axle and spin it hard, it would go around 152 times. If you did it to a lawnmower wheel, it would turn a half a turn and then stop, right? And it was like jiggly and everything. And my grandfather figured out that those are 4 free wheels. So he pulled the wheels off of the go-kart, or I should say off of the lawnmower. And then he had to figure out, how do we do an axle for this go-kart, and how do we attach the wheels to the axle? And he came up with a fairly ingenious plan.
Mop handle?
He took a piece of galvanized plumbing pipe.
Okay.
You know those caps you can screw on the end of the galvanized plumbing pipe? He took 2 pieces of that. He put the caps on the end. He drilled a hole in the end of the cap.
Ooh.
He then put the little axle with the nut and the bolt on it through it and screwed it in from the inside and then put the caps back on. So that was my axle. And everything was great, except for there was no rolling action in the thing. And other kids had the ball-bearing wheels. Even one kid pulled them off a shopping cart, but they still had bearings.
Yeah.
And even though I was the odds-on favorite, when we got to the top of the hill and they dropped the flag, my thing just kind of lurched forward and just creaked forward, and everyone just blew past me. And then, of course, we got to the bottom. It's like, come on, Ace, don't you know how to drive a go-kart? And it's like, I got no rolling action whatsoever.
This fucking Paul Newman obsession, this racing is your fucking rosebud. This is you trying to get back at the 3rd grader.
I got to be fast and I got to be first.
Yeah, right.
We got...
Now it's like the gumball rally for poor kids.
Yes. Also, it was a time when you could just show up at the old zoo with a bunch of hippies and go-karts and just have run of the place.
No locks, apparently.
They just kind of walked right in. And are there any old pictures of the old zoo, Max Pata?
I'm sure it's not touched at all. No graffiti, no needles, nothing.
Carolla's still stuck at the top.
My ghost is up there. They say if you close your eyes. So we have some good calls, but Gene, I know you got one, and I know Chris has one as well. Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. So this is, I am within this Tales of the Cheap, and so is a lot of the United States. Now, I don't know if you're familiar with this, but there is a Facebook group that is taking over the country. It's called Buy Nothing. Mm-hmm. And you literally can put anything on there and you cannot sell it and nobody can pay for it. It's like a community giving, whatever. And so a bunch of my friends in New York were doing it. So I saw, like, is there any over here? They're all over LA. They're all over everywhere. It's called Buy Nothing on Facebook. And I got an elliptical glider that's never been used. I've gotten this really cool serving plate. I've given away clothes. Like, it's amazing.
I think.
However,
I think my mom and dad were charter members of Buy Nothing. I think they're. I'm what you call a legacy now. But
that's right.
They
Your grandfathered in.
They had
Their
formed.
busts are in the background.
Yeah. They're like those twins that had the idea for Facebook.
The
Right.
Winklevoss.
The
The
Winklevosses.
Winklevosses. Like their buy nothing plan was in place in the 70s. It just took the computer in order to really get it up on its
That's
feet.
right.
Yeah.
The
Wait,
only
but Gina,
problem
you're a celebrity. Do you feel a little bit like there's a stigma to basically being on like an online flea market?
No, I love
Begging
it.
for free stuff from people?
Only one time, because you do a lot of like wheeling and dealing, not like negotiating, but like, okay, I can pick it up on Tuesday, or do you need any extra clothes because I have this bag, whatever. And so we were going back and forth, and this woman was like, "Are you on the Adam Carolla show?" And I go, "Yeah." And she goes,
Can I interest you in this tissue used by one Adam Carolla?
she goes, "I love the Adam Carolla show. Anyway, I'm not interested in your items."
Oh.
So,
That hurts.
so
You should have charged her a cameo fee.
it's seriously $25 cameo, Gina Grad. It's so fun to do, and but I pulled some ones that don't. I pulled some pictures for you that are shamelessly on there from random people. A lot of people put expired food on. So that's a big one. But here, Kaylin, just put up whatever, and we'll roll through them quickly. 3 cans of chunk light tuna. If you would like to go to their house and give it away. A little bag of Swedish fish, a mini bag of Swedish fish.
Love this.
An almost completely used bottle of LA Look that is so old and abused. They had to put it upside down so you could get the gel out.
I don't think that company exists anymore.
I don't either. Some broken pots, like the terracotta planter pots. What else we got? Oh, a little perfume left in all of these. Please
Wow.
take all. We got Poison. We got every grocery store perfume ever, and just a
Chanel.
few droplets left in the bottom. And I mean, you can literally put anything. Oh, a lanyard.
There's got to be like a
Just
pair of
lanyard.
size 9 British Knights tennis shoes, like high tops, or other
Yeah.
like defunct companies from
Yes.
the 80s and 90s.
Yes.
LA Gear.
LA
Yes.
Gear.
And it's great because
Stussy.
like the little kid here is, growing out of stuff so fast. So it's great to I don't want to sell it. I don't want to consign. I just want to give it away. Give it to any mom out there that needs 3T, 4T, take it. So it's really fun to do this. And it's the only other thing I wanted to add, even though some of these people are clearly clinically insane. You can tell the difference between when a man comments and when a woman comments, because one woman last week said, "Does anybody happen to have an extra Connect 4 game? My kid loves Connect 4. I just lost my job. It's not a financially great time for us. Does anyone have an extra?" The first comment was a guy going, "Have you tried fixing it? What's broken about it? Have you tried glue? Sometimes if it's the leg, it's glue." 3 of us, including me, without even seeing that comment, wrote, "What's your address? I'll have another one to you by tomorrow. I'll Amazon Prime it." That's what women do. Men go, "Is it broken? Have you tried gluing it? Maybe you should glue it. Has your son tried gluing it?" I'll
wasteful.
send you one. It's $10. I'll send it to you tomorrow.
By the way, when the Connect 4 is a little rich for your blood, I think these aren't great times for us financially. It's a kind of an understatement.
Possibly.
That's got to be $9 brand
Redundant.
spanking
And
new,
That's
right?
That's why there were so many of us that were willing to just let me give you Connect 4. I will send it to your house. What other games does he want? But it's a fun little community thing. But some of the things on there are truly comical.
Now they're so poor they only have Connect 3.
That's good.
So, Gina, I'm sorry. Is that your contribution? Not that
That's
it's
my
not enough.
contribution.
I didn't know if you had a.
Good. That's good.
That's it.
I didn't know if you had a personal family story that involved this.
No, I do this every day. I am all over Buy Nothing.
I have a version of this, which is Latin guys who work for me. And when I'm looking in my fridge and I see $80 worth of king crab legs left over from a holiday gathering and nobody's going to touch the $80 worth of king crab legs, I then show up on the job site with king crab legs, half a cheesecake,
The hefe coming through.
some
Dios
chicken that
mío.
people don't want. And then there's the king crab thing doesn't translate. Like when you walk into a garage and guys are painting, you go, "Who likes king crab?" Everyone just looks at you.
Yeah.
Then I have to hold the bag up and shake it. Then I have to tell them how expensive it is, and then I send it all home with them.
Yeah, who wants some expired shellfish?
Yeah.
I got a couple antibiotics left in this bottle also.
Nothing says the Hefe cares like expired shellfish. Now, I know no one got a bonus this year, but if you can dig out what's inside that thorny leg, I think you'll find your bonus.
All yours.
I remember we had a maid, and because we were rich but poor, she came once a month. And her name was Inez, and she was from Jamaica. And we used to take our stuff, and our stuff we got originally was defective. There was a place called Marshall's.
Yes.
And
There's still a place called Marshall's.
Oh, well, when Marshall started, people don't remember this. It was only defective clothing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Really?
Yep. It was all defective clothing.
Irregular.
Right.
It was irregular. And I remember I wanted a pair of Timberlands so bad, and that was out of the question. We wore like Latino guy at the worksite booth.
Right.
And so for my birthday, I open up a box and it says Timberland on it, but it's got it's in a Marshall's bag.
Right.
And I put them on, and the sole is 3/4 of an inch further than the rest of the boot. So the heel of the boot would get soaking wet every time I wore them.
Yeah,
I'd be tripping over the front.
You could go to Marshall's and get like a pair of Adidas shoes with 2 stripes, or an OP shirt that said OD on it instead. You know, like all these weird factory irregularities. It was kind of like what they do with the Super Bowl losing T-shirts every year. Like they just send them to
Buffalo Bills 4 years in a row, world champs.
Right. Yeah. There's some impoverished village in Ethiopia that is lousy with Buffalo Bill shirts right now.
That's so Simpsons. Malk, now with more vitamin K.
Yes. So that's how Marshall's started. Now they sort of have, I guess, everything that people don't want, but it's not defective. There were like factory defects.
I think by the time it got to Gina's way younger than me. My generation, it was just overstock stuff that couldn't sell. It was my first and only pair of Z Cavariccis I got from Marshall's. Oh, that was I don't know if you guys remember Z Cavariccis. That was a big ticket item in the early 90s.
Yeah. Although it's such a weird conceit, like when you're in the 9th grade and you got a mouthful of braces and your hair's a fucking mess and you got zits, and you think you're going to pick up some hot chick because you have cool shoes.
Yes, or cool pants.
How would that...
How does that translate?
There been a girl that's like, well, Brian's not much to look at, and he's got a losing personality, and those fucking frames are horrible. But have you seen the label on his jeans?
Not Brian Bishop.
Yeah, that girl
Every
existed.
day.
That girl existed.
Oh, and by the speaking of braces, the dentist told me I needed braces, and my parents told him, no, he does. And what's this?
Big Madonna gap.
You can drive a truck through my teeth.
Yep. But so far, it's only been cock. All right, Mike. Mike Lynch has going to contribute, but Mike's family was insanely cheap, and my family was insanely poor, but they were so depressed. And if you think about it, hang on to Mike for a second. Think about cheap, like the essence of cheap. So the essence of cheap is I want to take my family out to a meal, but I don't want to pay for 4 separate meals. So we'll go to the Red Balloon cafeteria in Van Nuys, and we'll buy the one meal, and we'll tell the son to load up on shrimp, and then he'll bring it back to the table.
Yeah. It's like getting one over on the man.
But the motivating force of cheap is still, I want this thing for my family.
Oh, yeah.
I just don't want to pay for it.
Right.
My family didn't want anything for their family, so they were just poor and sedentary.
There was no ingenuity.
Right. There's no, get in the trunk of the car. We're going to the drive-in. Although if you think about movies, you can talk about all the different facets of poor, downtrodden, and cheap families, but you really only need to focus on the movies. So my children's experience with movies pre-COVID is we will go whenever we want, and we will sit where we want. And when we get to the theater, we can eat. We'll order hot dogs or burrito or some, Mexican food. We'll have a cocktail. I'll have a cocktail, like whatever. That is their version of a theater. Our version of a theater experience, we had to go into a war room like World War II, where we're like pushing around German tanks and stuff. Now, look, we'll go to the matinee at the multiplex. Mm-hmm. You get in and sit through a movie you don't want to watch. Mm-hmm. Then don't leave. Go to another theater. Wait till the movie starts. You're going to miss the first 20 minutes of it, but then you slide in after the guy leaves the door and you watch 2/3 of a movie you do want to watch, and then you go to another theater, and as far as the candy and the beverages go, you're going to have to keister that shit.
Oh, yeah. Put in your goddamn pocket.
You're going to experience the majesty of a Milky Way bar that's been in your hip pocket for an hour and 40 minutes before we actually open it in the theater. And just at that point, just eat the fucking wrapper. Like, do not take it out of the wrapper at that point. Just fucking eat the whole thing. Just rinse it off and eat it. Like,
don't forget about the standard, like, you're whatever they ask, you're 10, because that's where the cutoff was for $1 more a ticket.
Right. We're going down to MacArthur Park. We're gonna get you an ID. We're going to get you into this theater. We're going to smuggle in candy that we got at the liquor store because it's 40% cheaper than what's what's at the theater. Then we're going to have you spend all fucking day there, and you'll go back and forth to the different things. And here's a dime. When you're done with this, essentially, the movie theater's now going to lose money on you. When you are done bilking the movie theater, you use this dime, go to that payphone and call us, and we'll pick you up in an hour. But by the way, before you use the payphone, you got to check the change hopper. Yeah. There could be another dime in there.
Right.
Wait, they gave you a dime? They didn't just say, don't accept the collect call. We'll know who it's from.
Yeah, right. Now, when we would go to the movies, there was a theater that was like 3 towns over, and they wouldn't show new movies. All my friends were talking about Star Wars. I was talking about, the Monkeys.
All right.
The Monkeys movie.
Sonny and Cher. Have you seen that one? All right. We got a bunch of calls up there. Lynch is going to chime in with some of his own cheapness, so we'll just roll it over into the next segment. Let me hit Thompson Cigar here first, whether you're working from home or you're just kicking back for the week. Maybe you're not essential, or maybe you are essential. Either way, relax with a premium cigar. Thompson Cigar Company has the deals, has a selection, over a century in business, best prices on the biggest brands, 12,000 plus cigar options, new in-demand brands added weekly. You can build your own 5-pack with 300 different options to mix and match. And it's nice during these days, especially as the weather cools down. Go outside, sit around the fire up that cigar, have a nice brandy and a nice conversation. Plus, they have insane cigar deals, and you can do it via email. Number one choice for premium cigars because they deliver the best customer experience. It is Thompson Cigar. Right, Dawson?
Sit back and take a break from all the craziness with a cigar from Thompson Cigar. Now, for a limited time, Thompson is offering 15% off orders over $75 or 20% off orders over $99. To take advantage of these incredible savings, simply go to thompsoncigar.com and use promo code Carolla when you're ready to check out. The website is Thompson, THOMPSON, cigar.com, and use promo code Carolla.
Lots of good calls up there as well. So we'll take a quick break, come back with the calls and Lynch and more tales from the cheap right after this.
The Adam Carolla Show presents another honorable mention from the cutting room floor for the 2020 Ace Awards. For Best Impression, Harland Williams as various marsupials.
What would a koala bear sound like, Papa? And Papa?
You are you trying to seduce me?
Papa, what would some whore you met online sound like?
All
if you went to Barney's Beanery?
Oh my God.
Okay, what's a panda bear sound like in that case?
Oh
Papa?
God. All right, I don't want to be a dad. Thanks.
All right.
The 2021 Ace Awards are coming this December on The Adam Carolla Show.
It is a shame that Harlan has no kids with all those crazy animal voices, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a pretty good childhood with crazy Harlan doing all the noises like, a macaw or a toucan. Fitzdog is here, Indianapolis Helium Comedy Club, tomorrow, Friday, and Saturday, as you hear this. Also then Tempe Improv. Next Thursday through Sunday, that's January 14th and 17th. You can go to Fitzdog with a Z, fitzdog.com for tickets. Mike Lynch has joined us, who has maybe the cheapest family of us all. Although I beat him in the poor department, I don't beat him in the cheap department.
Hey, Mike, he's talking about you fuck ass.
So, Mike,
yes,
we're
innovatively cheap as opposed to just cheap like your family.
Yeah. And again, I don't think my family was cheap. They were just super poor and unmotivated. So they just kind of sat there being poor.
Well, like you, Cool Whip containers were a commodity in our household, and they did get that pink color in them because they contained frozen tomato sauce.
Oh, yeah. Yours would be so the first things first is everything that could possibly hold water and had a lid was considered a durable good. Like that was considered a big ticket item. My grandparents would never throw away like a pickle jar or mayonnaise jar, but it always had the weird rusty, crusty top on it. It had that weird insert on the mayonnaise jar. And
I sent Chris a picture of one of my highlights of, there you go. So those were shrimp cocktail containers.
Oh, yeah, we had those. Saucy,
you remember those, Brett?
Yep.
And
they'd still have that whiff of shrimp cocktail years later when you were drinking water out of them.
Oh. Not only that, we that was our. By the way, what's up, Lynch? Good to see you,
how you
buddy.
doing, Fitzdog? Good to see you, man.
And they hold about 4 ounces, which I think was a calculated move, so we didn't drink too much milk. It was just. It was like my parents would have a New Year's Eve party, and that was the fucking shrimp they gave out. They were about 1/4 of an inch long. They'd been frozen for years, and then when they were done, that was our fucking flatware.
Yeah, but you could get them through airport security now, though.
Yeah. Couldn't you get like botulism, old shrimp cups?
Of course.
Yeah.
The
risk worth taking.
It's also. These things are also sort of indicators. They're basically tangible reminders that you're not fully loved because they're like physical, actual, tangible reminders of that. Because as I always tell you guys, even when I was 25, I'd go to my grandparents' house and my grandfather, God bless him, make a huge pot of goulash. And I was like starving bachelor guy. And at some point, my grandfather was Jewish, would be like, well, take some of the goulash home with you. And then I'd go, oh, yeah, that'd be awesome. I lived a mile away in an apartment, And my grandfather would go, I'll load up the Tupperware and you can take it. And I'd see my grandmother like shaking him off like a pitcher, like, not the Tupperware, not the Tupperware. The Tupperwares were $4, not the Tupperware. Give him the mayonnaise jar. Take the mayonnaise jar and fill it with the goulash and bring that home, the Tupperware. And it's kind of a weird conceit because it's like, what do you really think is going to happen to this Tupperware? The Tupperware is 22 years old and light no longer passes through it. Like it's that marred. It looks sandblasted. Yeah. And it's like, but they just had this one Tupperware container. And my grandmother's biggest fear is that shit would never come back. Remember all those conversations of like people go, okay, you can borrow this crescent wrench, but understand this $9 wrench needs to come back. Like you got to bring this. Like if you're having long conversations about things that are under $4 and how important it is that they come back to your home, like that was, if I ever got out of there with Tupperware, my grandmother would like tag it like a pot of whale.
Our house had our name on the bottom. I assume it did in your houses too.
She calls them like the Cougars. Did you bring back P296?
Yes. Where is it? We followed it to Carpenter Street in North Hollywood, and then we lost the trail.
We never had Tupperware because that would assume that occasionally my mother made any more food than we could consume at one meal. It was always slightly less food. She would make, for 5 of us, she would make 5 pork chops, and then my dad would take 2. And then we would have to carve into thirds and do math to figure out who got the rest.
And that's where the Jewish and the Irish part ways.
I was going to say, we had the different thing where she would make too much food and then freeze it for years. And then you have to chisel at it to get it out.
Yeah. So, Mike, beside the stop sign floorboard and the shrimp container.
Yield sign, to be correct.
Oh, sorry. Yield. Yes. Yield to my cheapness.
That was the classic.
What car was it on?
It was a Chevette. It was a maroon Chevette.
I think I got it.
I couldn't tell you the year, but
any other good stories to regale?
Well, there
us
was
with?
the classic. My sister had a Halloween costume that was a Hershey Kiss. It was composed of a trash bag and a tire, bike tire.
All right.
So there's a picture of that floating out there somewhere. And we, despite not actually being on welfare ourselves, we would take the government cheese from my grandmother, who was, because it was too much for her. Yes. So it was not only government cheese, it was hand-me-down government cheese. It was an orange block.
Secondhand.
that a good Sawzall couldn't get through.
I will. I now have another one of these sort of demarcation things for, like, was your family poor? Over under number would be 8 on how many times you eat spaghetti that was served up with an ice cream scooper. Remember the bad cafeteria? They just scoop it. Like each strand of spaghetti was 7/8 of an inch long, and it was just buried in that gooey red sauce. And they'd use that scooper, and it'd show up like a half a tennis ball on your tray. Ugh.
Hey, I don't know. Do they do government cheese anymore? How is government cheese distributed? How do you get your government cheese?
Go to the government.
Yeah.
Show up at your house and hand you a block of cheese.
First thing you do is you vote for Biden.
Yeah, and is this surplus cheese that the military didn't want, or are they actually making cheese for the subjects?
It was actually used as shells during the Korean War, and they just repurposed it as cheese.
Dropped on enemies.
Yeah, there was actually, and there was powder. I'm picturing the little pantry in the back. There was the government cheese, and there was also the powdered milk, which I know. Powdered milk and powdered eggs, which, you know, I know is one of your lines of demarcation ace for bad childhood.
Like, unless you're in a fucking foxhole, you should never get near powdered eggs. How would
rich man, poor man too? Because I think you got an astronaut.
Or
exactly.
Lynch. Growing up.
How do you even make powdered eggs? You mix it with water.
Yeah. Water.
I do kind of blame the space program for part of my shitty childhood, because we were obsessed with like Tang and powdered, like just add water, like the
Ovaltine,
the astronauts. Like, you know what else the astronauts do? They pee into a fucking diaper. But that's not awesome when you're fucking on the ground, right?
Yeah.
Everyone was so like Tang was literally just sugar and orange coloring and a little like citric acid, and somehow this was fantastic because it's what the astronauts
It was space aged.
and is it
standard.
And did the astronauts really have Tang? Like, do you think the scientists at NASA were like, we need something with zero nutritional value that weighs a lot and that is fucking covered with sugar? Like, for these guys that are trying to live in outer space, do you think really one of the NASA nutritionist scientists, do you think they really came up with Tang?
Gun to your head, Ace. Tang.
Tang was not made for space travel, but space travel made Tang famous. The sugary orange drink powder failed to take off upon introduction to the U.S. market in 1959, but once it launched with American astronauts in the 60s, labeled Orange Drink, Tang had the world's best built-in branding, according to military.com.
They probably had a healthier version of it, and then this was the commercial grade.
Adam, I was going to ask you, gun to your head, Tang or Sunny D? You have to pick one. What do you do?
Well, Tang tasted good. Sunny, I mean, it was bad, but if you're 9, it kind of tasted good. But Sunny D always tasted like ass to me, because the thing about, I guess, my taste buds is Tang was so far off of orange juice, it wasn't it wasn't in the same category.
It wasn't trying to be orange
juice. It didn't compete. It tasted more like flat orange soda. Whereas Sunny D kind of tasted like orange juice, but a horrible version of orange juice. And that's what always kind of bumped me. And
I think that's another demarcation is they used to call it either fruit juice or fruit drink. If you drank fruit drink, you were poor. There was cheese and there was cheese food. Do you remember that? Like Kraft?
Yeah.
Individual slices had to be called cheese food.
If it ever had the word drink or punch next to the flavor, that was a bad sign. That meant you were not getting the real deal.
Speaking of all this orange juice talk, we never had like a carton of orange juice because that was for rich people.
Oh yeah.
But did everyone else do the concentrate with
concentrate?
The water?
Concentrate.
And trying to just get that plunger down when you were a kid was very difficult. Is that considered? Is that poor people stuff? Because orange juice come in a carton.
The biggest we had a Gelson's, which is still there, sort of near my house. And we had a Lucky's, which is, I don't know, John's or whatever, near Gina's house.
Which one did you go to?
Well, I would go into Gelson's only to steal turkey drumsticks. So Gelson's...
Wow. I didn't see that coming.
Well, Gelson's had the full hot deli counter in the back. It was like the very back left, yes. And so when I was about 10... I'd go in there. I was always fucking starving, and there was nothing to eat at my house. Certainly not a Gelson's prepped turkey drumstick, like a huge drumstick. It's not an easy item to steal. You're better off doing a baker's dozen of hot wings because you can kind of spread those around, you know. But the one drumstick was like, you know, the Fred Flintstone sized drumstick. But I love the turkey drumstick, so I would go to the back of the Gelson's. I would order from the deli counter the turkey drumstick, but you don't have to pay at the deli counter. You pay in the front. Yep. So somewhere between having it in the back and the front, you'd have to kind of lose yourself and see if you could get out of there with the drumstick, you know, tucked in your inside pocket of your army jacket, or just sort of pretending like you forgot was in your hand. And I didn't have any money to buy any other items, so I couldn't really pad it out. But the Gelson's, you want to talk about the holy goddamn grail of orange juice. Again.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes.
I know.
The shit in the carton was way too expensive. Even the stuff from concentrate in the carton was way too expensive. Even the concentrate non-generic form was like too expensive. We had to do tap water and the Lucky Thrifty Scotch brand or whatever the fuck the knockoff shit was. But the Gelson's had a giant fresh orange juice machine. Juicer. Have you seen one of these things?
It was the grocery store I worked at in high school had one of those, and we just fill it with oranges, and it would just press them and make freshly squeezed orange juice. You'd cap it off and throw a tangerine in there every once in a while. Now you're living.
Yeah, the Gelson's one, I think, had this sort of hopper with orange juice, with oranges, and they would like roll down the flume, and you'd just see the action on it. And I would just sit there and stare at it like I was looking at a Ferrari through the window of a showroom, you know, like, oh.
That was more technology than in your entire home.
I know. And the people that were actually purchasing the fresh squeezed orange juice at $6 a gallon, like, holy Christ, I'm going to stow away in the trunk of this guy's Mercedes. I don't care where he goes. And I would just stare at that thing.
We would go to C-Town, which was the shitty supermarket in town. And we were always hustling. It was like the Depression. That's why I wear those hats, those little newsy hats. We were always like angling to make a quarter or $1. While my mother would shop, me and my brother would try to get old ladies to let us carry their bags to their car because they'd give us a quarter. We were the guys that were in the fall raking leaves. As soon as it snowed, the other kids are fucking sleigh riding. No, we're shoveling driveways. We were constantly trying to make a buck. When we belonged to the country club, they made me caddy from age 13 on. I weighed like $105, and I've got one of those Rodney Dangerfield bags on my back. I'm walking past the pool. All the other 13-year-olds are laying out. They're playing pool tag. They're playing ping pong, and they're looking at me going, "What the fuck is wrong with you? You're a member."
We got some calls up here. I like Joe and John and other John from Ithaca and Cleveland. Hang on, but Joe was told to bring his own pizza topping, so I'm very into this guy. Joe, 42, Seattle.
Hi, guy.
Hi, guy.
Oh, real quick, I just want to say, Bryan, your health update that you gave right before the break. Thanks for updating everyone. I'm sorry, it's been a tough last couple of months, but I know you said you were worried that you weren't sure if it had come through on the show or not. But completely honest truth, not trying to make you feel better. I absolutely couldn't tell. I thought you'd always sounded just the way you always had. So.
Joe hasn't listened to a show since 2019.
Yeah, I was going to say, not a good sign.
Thanks, Joe. I appreciate it. Very nice.
Yeah. No, I meant even better than normal. But I hope 2021 will be a little bit easier.
Thanks, buddy.
Pizza.
What's your tales from the cheap?
So, well, it's going to be hard to top Gina's story about self-repairing a Connect 4 kit instead of just going out and buying another one. Gee, well, actually, so Gina, when you were talking about the post in the Buy Nothing group, did you have any guys that said this? Because this is the first thought that came into my head. You can play this game with pencil and paper, right? If your Connect 4 set breaks, you just draw it on a napkin
it's called tic-tac-toe.
Did any guys?
Right. Yeah, no, not yet.
All right, Joe, pizza topping story.
Pizza. So Domino's and a couple other companies, they have these coupons that you can order pizza for pickup for $8, but they're very strict about 3 toppings only. And if you go over that, they start charging $1.50 or $2 for each topping. And you know how this is. It's even if you can afford it, if it starts out saying 8 and by the time you're done it's $14, you still feel like you got jobbed. So I have my own supply of things like, the marinated mushrooms and the artichoke hearts and the capers that I just keep, and anything that's not like the meat that has to be cooked into it to taste good.
All right, hold on. Gina, hypothetical. Yeah. In terms of, let's just say there was a flood in your vagina.
Sure.
And you needed to air dry it real fast.
Wow.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Guy who picks you up on the date with the Lyft Uber sticker on the car. Sure. Guy with the Ralph's Club lanyard hanging from the keychain. Or guy who brings own pizza toppings out on the first date.
Oh, wow. Wow. I think we know.
I think we know.
Oh man! I mean, at least he said marinated mushrooms.
Mm-hmm.
Is it because he prefers? If it was someone who's I go to I want the delicacy stuff. I want the artichokes. I want the marinated mushrooms. I'd be like, ooh la la, get them up. But if he's just trying to save $1.50,
these are green bell peppers.
Now we have a problem. Now he has edged out the Ralph's Club guy.
Right, but also. It's kind of catch-22 because if this guy is Godfather's doesn't have truffles, you'd be like, well, maybe you should go to a normal pizza place that's better.
Yeah, that's true. That's a very good point.
All
that's
right.
a good, nice, deep Godfather's pull.
Thank you. All right, we'll do one more. I know we'll do 2 more, but I know Lynch has a heart out, so I'm mindful of that, Lynch. Let's see. Let's talk to but Joe over here, that's self-imposed cheapness. That's not a parental thing or familial thing. That's him imposing on himself. John, 46, Cleveland.
Hey guys, Happy New Year. So it is insane that you brought up fruit drink earlier because my story is about my dad taking a stand over fruit drink with the county sheriff. And it's crazy you brought that up. So anyways, I grew up in Cleveland. This is not a net worth thing, by the way. My dad was very well employed. This is strictly about hating things that cost more money than he thought they should. So we did not grow up going to Indians games or Browns games. We went to indoor soccer games and only on weeknights. Because I later found out the tickets on weeknights were 2 for the price of 1. So the day of the game, he would boil up some hot dogs, wrap them in tinfoil, and then he would go to the local convenience store and get 2 little wax cartons of fruit juice. Oh. And I remember from age 9, they were 25 cents a piece. Oh, yeah. So he does this for several years. And then finally, we go to the game one night. They go through the bag. and they say new policy, no drinks allowed from the outside. So my dad immediately demands to talk to a cop. So he starts getting into it with this cop over the 2 fruit drinks. And the cop does that thing that scared the hell out of me even as a kid. He starts mumbling into the walkie-talkie on his shoulder, you know?
Yeah.
So the next thing you know, the sheriff of Summit County, Ohio is standing there going back and forth with my dad about allowing him to bring fruit drinks into the event. So he tells my dad it's for safety reasons because you could throw the full container of fruit drink unopened. You could hurt somebody with it, which, by the way, you guys probably know, did happen in Cleveland a few years later with a Browns game.
Oh, really?
Well, here's the money. Yeah, the bottle game. The sheriff was right. You could kill somebody with a thrown bottle. So here's the money shot of the story, though. My dad tells the sheriff, I could use anything as a weapon. I could take my wallet out, and I could throw that and use it as a weapon. And I swear to God, as a 9-year-old, I actually remember thinking to myself, no one involved in this conversation thinks you're taking your wallet out of your pocket, let alone throwing it anywhere. So
well done.
And my dad couldn't have pulled that one off because there was no money or credit cards or anything of weight inside of the wallet.
Moths.
A good wind would have kicked up. It would have spread its wings and went to the heavens.
Yeah, mine had plenty of money. He had plenty of money. He was an engineer.
Also,
he did very well.
my dad could never do that because it always took him at least 20 minutes to get his wallet out of his pocket. So there's no way if an intruder attacked us, he could do it in any kind of timely fashion. There would have to be a long discussion about what $1 was worth and how money didn't grow on trees. And you should talk to your mom. Thanks, John. All right, we'll do one more. Lynch, I know you got a hard out, so we'll. Oh, you're okay. All right,
you
can
told
stick
the
with,
patient to hang tight.
Stick with.
He's a fan, actually. He'll wait.
Okay.
One more call. John, 53, Ithaca, New York.
Hi, Adam and gang. It's
Hi,
a pleasure
Guy.
to speak with you. I'm a big fan, and I called because I have great stories about my father, who was notoriously cheap. He was a developer, and he owned many houses and apartment buildings that had lots of wooden decks. Now, of course, due to upstate harsh New York weather, the decks have to be treated every year.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of, going to the store and buying Thompson's water sealant like everyone else does in the world, my father would grab an empty 55-gallon drum and pour in a witch's brew of his own creation of pallets of linseed oil, paint thinner, and other various ingredients all purchased in bulk, mix it together with a big wooden stick, and then he would brag that he would treat his deck for pennies on the dollar. And then one year he decided that he didn't even want to pay for that. So my father walked into the maintenance garage and spies a 55-gallon drum of dirty used motor oil. And where some people see a problem, my father saw solutions. He on the spot decided that one kind of oil is as good as any other kind of oil and instructs his crew to apply the dirty motor oil as a treatment onto the wood decks. Solving two problems in his mind. He gets rid of dirty oil and doesn't have to pay for any more treatments.
I'm laughing because I'm picturing the homeowner after your dad just mopped the deck going, honey, I'm going to go out and smoke a cigarette. I'll be back to join you and my beloved family to watch the rest of Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. I just want to have my...
a little tipsy.
Yeah, looks like a Tibetan monk 2 minutes later.
It was an unbelievable mess. First of all, the decks never dried, so they just remained a sticky, tacky mess.
Oh.
Yes.
Second, of course, the petroleum stench was unbelievable. It smelled like the Exxon Valdez had just wiped out in the front yard. And third, the wood sucked up the dirty black oil unevenly, so the wood just became this splotchy, sooty, nasty, gross mess that was absolutely horrible. And of course, it cost a fortune to correct and fix the way it should have been done right in the first place. And that's typical for the tales of the cheap. As my father was famous for being penny wise and pound foolish. He would step over dollars to pick up pennies.
Yeah. Thanks, John. Yeah, my grandfather famously added a porch on his old house that we were flopping in North Hollywood, but he wouldn't just go buy new lumber. He bought used lumber, and the used lumber was from a pier that caught on fire. So it was like waterlogged. It was like bowed and propellered. It was
reclaimed wood.
Totally uneven, and the only stuff that wasn't, soaked with with salt water had termites, and then he built this horrible, shitty, uneven, fucked up looking front porch that everyone would just trip over.
On one side.
Yeah, it was a fucking shit show. And so not only do you end up with a horrible product, but it's more labor intensive to build with a bunch of uneven, different sizes, different thicknesses, sizes of wood. And then you have to fucking live with it for 10 years. But that was Laszlo Gorog, everybody. It is also, but can we do this? You know, this like Drew always plays this card because like my dad was a product of the Depression. Like, all right, everybody, my family was poor. My family's cheap. They were fucking idiots. I'm not. You know what I mean? It's like saying, I won't stay in a hotel that's above 3 stories. Why not? Well, I was alive during 9/11. Yeah, okay. Now get the fuck over it and go up to the fucking 14th floor and enjoy yourself. Like, you can get over this shit. You can experience stuff and see stuff. And then that was Drew's thing. Drew's thing is like his dad was a physician. He always did well. But because he was 7.5 during the Depression, Drew must eat out of a fucking coffee can for the rest of his life. Like, okay, now you're an adult. Get fucking over it. I don't.
It's his kids. It takes 3 generations.
Well, that's
to wash out.
It didn't happen to Drew. That's the crazy thing.
Yeah. He's got a little of that, but not nearly what his dad had. All right, Lynch. By the way, you can follow Lynch on Twitter at @MLynchTweets. By the way, Chris has an example of a tale. Oh, Chris, what do you got?
All right. Well, I have a few. First off,
well, hold on. Let me hit Geico here. Do you own? Do you rent? Probably do one or the other. Do you have an automobile? Well, sure you do. So you can bundle. You can take your homeowners, your renters insurance, you bundle it along with your auto policy, and it is that easy. Put it all under one roof at geico.com. You get a quote at geico.com, and you find out just how much you could be saving. It's easy. Visit geico.com today. What do you got, Max Banner?
All right, so first off, growing up with 2 brothers, we always got, we always, all of our Christmas gifts, anything, we're always 3 of the same thing because my mom would always buy everything in bulk. And if we ever wanted anything name brand, it was always a knockoff. So for many years, I would wear Adiklas, which where the C and the L together kind of look like a D, but it's
They're trying to
Adidas.
fool you from a distance.
Yeah, so from a distance, it looks like Adidas, but they were Adidas slippers and shoes.
Wow.
Would you like mark them up like with a marker so they connect?
I should have done that. Now that I think about it.
Wow.
But I think it had a 4th stripe, so I got the extra stripe in that way. Another example is when you're like in Asian families, the grandma always moves in.
Yeah.
Yeah, so my grandma lived with me, and what she would do is she would take all of our old jeans and she would use them as floor mats. She would cut the legs off. So like my friends would come over and just like look at our kitchen mats, and they would have like pockets because they're just denim jeans cut up. And she would use plastic bags to tie everything together. She would just roll them up and use them to tie other plastic bags together, or like straws or anything like that. So she's really crafty.
Oh, so instead of rope, you just flatten out the plastic bag
Right.
and wrap it around. Wow.
Everything was wrapped with plastic bags at home.
I remember I had a couple of friends. I don't know if this is going to happen in this country anymore, but I did have a couple of friends that had the grandmother who lived at the house, and it was long enough ago where the grandmother was like from the old country and had a thick accent or didn't speak English or something like that.
Around, mumbling in another
language. And she was always like, "Don't go in that bedroom. Don't go in there." That's where, and they were always a little mean and a little scary and kind of a little off-put. Like, what are you doing here? You know, and it's like, well, there's a 10-year-old who's my friend, and this is his house too, bitch. So he like invited me over to fuck around. Like, God forbid they ever walked into the kitchen when you were in the kitchen. That was like, sacred burial ground for them. If you were in the kitchen and they like came, well, what are you doing in here, boy? Weird accents and scary and just not sure what their backstory was, and no talk of the grandfather ever. Like we don't know who that guy was. But yeah, I had I had a few friends that had the weird grandma living at the house, which is a deal breaker if you ever bring a chick back, right? Like that's the weirdest.
It didn't help.
Yeah, my best friend had a grandmother, and she was a Holocaust survivor.
Oh.
Or she was. She died last year.
Wow.
And so she's not anymore. But she had dementia, and the family didn't pay for health care. So you'd come home, and she'd be in a house coat, and you would be driving, and she'd be on the road on the way to the house, and she was ancient, and she constantly thought you were her husband, and she would say, Robert. And I'll tell you something, making love to that woman, it was because she felt married to you, so there was this connection. It wasn't just physical.
I had a friend.
That meant something.
I had a friend named David, and I just thought of his grandmother's name, which I haven't thought of in a million years. And we would like want to go to his house. He had like kind of the party house, and we'd go there to drink Mickey's Big Mouth when we were 15 or something. But his ancient grandmother's name was Tata Marie. And she had this thick accent, and Tata Marie would like come out like, you boys are making so much noise. And he would like start yelling back at her. And it was so weird having weird ancient grandmother living at the house. I do have.
Is she Hungarian?
Tata Marie.
Because isn't Tata like the name for grandmother?
It probably is.
Like Grandma Marie?
Yes. And the saddest knockoff, so back in the day, obviously you could go buy Levi's at the Gap or or wherever, the Miller's Outpost, or where the cool people shopped. But if you shopped at J.C. Penney's like we did, you had to get the weird shiny tough skins or super denim jeans, with the reinforced knees and all that kind of. So back in the day, J.C. Penney and Sears, for that matter, they didn't really have name brands. They just had their own brand, and certainly J.C. Penney was that way. So they would always have the knockoff of the cool guy thing. And the cools, I would argue that the knockoff is more pathetic than just having nothing at all or some generic brand that no one's ever heard of, because this is you trying to be like the popular people and not succeeding. But there was a kid in my junior high in 1977, 78, Earth shoes were super popular.
What are those?
Earth shoes were this crazy 70s shoe that was super ugly. They were like a suede Crocs. It was like Crocs before Crocs. They were big and round in the front, and they were like suede. And the thing about the Earth shoe was the heel was lower than the toe. You were basically like a lowrider, essentially, walking. Like everyone, how everyone wants to appear shorter with lower back pain? Well, that's where Earth shoe came in. So,
what's the point?
Well, the commercial, you have to picture the commercial. The commercial for Earth shoes where it was somebody walking in the sand at the beach, and they would show how you walked, and of course your heel would sink down lower than the ball of your foot.
They're like platypus flippers.
They're awful. They are ugly.
They're ugly, but they were popular, and it was like, this is how man was meant to walk. Yeah, on the beach, but not on fucking asphalt at Walter Reed Junior High, you douchebags. But Earth shoes,
clown shoes.
They're the ugliest. They look like orthopedic shoes. They look like
you can stop on a dime in those things.
Yeah, they look like the brake is always sort of half on. It's like driving around with the parking brake halfway pulled up. Yeah, nobody stops faster than Earth shoes. Yeah,
Dale Sayers had those.
Yeah, as opposed to pumps where you just keep going. Wow. Yeah, they looked like the kind of shoes that had the metal polio brace attached to it, except for somebody just peeled it off, like Forrest Gump style. Shit. But Earth shoes were popular for some reason, and they had that campaign. You can probably find it, Max Zapata, but the cool kids had Earth shoes. Well, J.C. Penney wasn't going to leave money on the table, but they also knew they weren't going to sell any $55 Earth shoes to anybody at J.C. Penney, and probably weren't like licensed to sell them. So they came out with their own shoe called Gas, Gass. And Gas.
Now I know I'm getting everyone for Christmas next year.
By the way, Brian, I've used the shit out of the mega knife you got me.
Knife.
That thing's it's a fucking game changer, man. I'm gonna throw out the name of that thing, man. That I did Korean barbecue. I went to goddamn town with that knife. That fucking knife is killer.
How many bottles did you slice?
Oh my God.
I'm genuinely glad to hear this.
Trusted butcher knife. I mean, whatever that thing set you back, I got the use out of it already, and we're only 4 or 5 days into the new year.
Genuinely awesome.
It was awesome. Now, Earth Shoe came out with a knockoff, or J.C. Penney did, and that was called Gas, 2 S's. And the most pathetic thing that I saw in my junior high was some poor kid bought the knockoff Earth Shoe, the Gas shoe, but of course, the Earth Shoe had a rubber sole, and the Gas shoe had like a hard plastic sole, and his snapped right in the middle. It just had a clean break right in the middle because the front was higher than the back. And I guess there's just too much pressure when you try to take a step. And because it was hard plastic and not rubber, which was probably cheaper, it snapped right in the fucking middle. But it was held together by the flap of vinyl that was on the bottom, the insert of the shoe. So it was like an old-timey medieval hinge, like a door hinge made out of leather, you know? And this poor kid, now it drew all the focus to his knockoff Earth Shoe because it had snapped right in the middle, and he was walking around with this popped Earth Shoe, with this hinged Earth Shoe everywhere. Yeah, that is fucking... Lynch, I don't know a ton about this, but that guy's probably still talking about this in therapy.
He's in my waiting room right now.
He's in your waiting room right now. All right, let me hit Tommy John, and then we'll move on to bigger and better topics. 2021, start off right. Trade out those cheap underwear for the best. Oh, we were talking about this. Spend the money, get the Tommy John. You will never go back to what you're currently wearing. Tommy John doesn't have customers. They have fanatics. It is true. Once you get in the Tommy John, that's it. Dozens of innovations. Breathable, lightweight, moisture-wicking fabric with 4 times the stretch of competing brands. Moves with you. No roll waistbands. The legs never ride up. And they got a no wedgie guarantee. It's the best pair you'll ever wear. Or it's free, guaranteed, right, Dawson?
Go to TommyJohn.com/Adam and save 15% on your first order. Go right now. Save 15% right now at TommyJohn.com/Adam. That's TommyJohn.com/Adam to save 15% on your first order. See site for details.
All right. We'll bid adieu to Lynch. Thanks for the contributions. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back with more Fitzdog and the gang right after this.
It's time to check Adam's voicemail.
Hey, man. I had a shitty day, and I was in the process of texting my girlfriend a kind of whiny text about my shitty day. But I was listening to your podcast while I was doing this. It was a podcast from December 17th, and you were talking about how much you hate guys that are pussies. And I realized that I was being a pussy, and I deleted the text, and I'm going for a walk. Thanks, Ace, man.
You can leave us a message at 888-634-1744.
Thanks. I was able to make an impact and change a life. Fitzdog is hanging with us. Fitzdog, you're going out, you're playing shows. How's that working? How you feeling about that?
Well, I did. I've only done a couple. In the fall, I did Cleveland and Tampa, and I got these two weeks coming up. I canceled some a little later because I feel like things are really blowing up, and I've got my wife and 2 kids are frontline workers. My daughter works in a preschool, and my wife works in a doctor's office, and my son works in a doctor's office. So If it was just me, I'd keep doing it because it doesn't feel that bad out there. But I kind of conceded that it wasn't good for the family, so I'm canceling some dates in like February and March. But it's not too bad.
Have you? What's your experience of the clubs? Your limited experience of the clubs and how they're operating?
It depends on the state. Like when I was in Cleveland, they sprayed everything down between shows. They have this ventilation system at Hilarities that they put in because of smokers that sucks all the air out of the room like every 30 seconds. And it's got a balcony, so the ceilings are that much higher. And I could walk to the club from the hotel. So that felt super safe. And then you go to Tampa, Florida, and it's like I would walk to the stage with a mask on just because I had kind of a bit that I was doing with the mask when I walk on. By the time I got to the mic, half the crowd is screaming, "Take the fucking mask off!" and nobody would wear a mask the entire time. And it felt like, yeah, I need to quarantine when I get home. So I would come home for like 5 days and I'd stay in the back. And what do you do when you go on the road? Do you quarantine at all when you get home?
No, I have no protocols whatsoever. I have zero protocol. Sad.
Just whatever. Yeah.
Whatever. Yeah, you're right. If you go to, I guess I was playing, where the hell was I playing in Florida? At
West Palm Beach.
West Palm Beach. Hey, you go to a club in Florida and it's literally like there is no COVID-19. There is no pandemic. Like you couldn't tell if you looked out into the audience. You couldn't tell by how people were acting. You couldn't tell you wouldn't see any masks. Like people were pretty well huddled together. It's funny. Most of these clubs are like, we're going to do half capacity because of the protocols. And you go, okay, so the club holds 400 people, but they're going to cut it off at 200 people. But the 200 people are all huddled up to the edge of the stage. So the 200 people are where 200 people would be in the 400-seat club. And then there's 200 empty seats behind them all the way to the back of the club, which I would argue is like if you said, well, this American airline flight is only going to be half full because of safety protocols, but they just put everyone in the front of the plane. It kind of defeats the purpose of the distancing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the best is the MC is telling me like, man, I've been a road dog. I don't give a shit. I'm doing one-nighters in Alabama, next night in Louisiana. And he gets up there and he's one of these guys that's screaming and spitting on the mic. And then you get up there and you're like, I don't care about the crowd. This mic is fucking glowing right now.
I think I think they've switched the mics at a few clubs or had like the second mic or something like that. Then there's always that move where the opener's walking off the stage as you're walking on the stage, and you have to figure out some sort of greeting for him, like an elbow bump or a good job or some version of that, because you can't just pass him. That would be
little head tilt.
That would be rude. So
yeah, and then I'm not selling merch, which that's always free money. You selling that merch is fucking sweet. It's cash in your pocket.
Yeah.
Uncle Sam doesn't listen to this podcast, does he? Because he doesn't taste that money.
No, the merch part, the best part of the merch part is really just having cash. It's not really like, well, I'm gonna pay my mortgage selling books and DVDs or whatever. That it's just literally, if you go out, like we used to go out every other week, and every other week you just bring a big merch bag full of books and shit, and every week you just come home, or every other week, with $165 worth of just 10s and 20s and 5s, and you just start kind of putting them in a drawer. You never have to go to the ATM ever again. Right. There's always cash. The problem is it doesn't the cash stops meaning anything because you just keep coming home with this bundle of cash. And then my daughter would be like, hey, can I go to the cash drawer? Me and my friend want to go to Chick-fil-A. And I'd go, all right. And they'd go, how much you need? And she'd be like, I don't know, $400. And I'd go, okay, but bring change.
Yeah. No, and it's also, I miss seeing people after the shows because it's like, you're in your house and you have zero status. Nobody gives a shit about you. My kids don't think I'm funny. And then you go and you stand outside and these people come out and they're like, I've listened to every one of your podcasts. That show was amazing. Can I give you a hug? And like that shit carries you through. That feels good. And I kind of miss that.
I wonder, here's an interesting experiment. And I never thought about it, but I think, you tell me. Because, I get the same status at home. And it doesn't matter how many documentaries or how many are on Netflix or how many best-selling books or how many, sold-out theaters or whatever. It's still one big fat zero burger when I get home. There's nothing to do. There's a little. I'm not even a D-list celebrity at my house. I'm lower than like, I don't know if Hasselhoff has a brother who's in the business. I would be a couple of rungs below him. I wonder if this is a true statement. Do you think that the people that are performers / celebrities, go out, do shows, sell merch, do your podcast, write a book, come out with a doc, things like that. Do you think that there's a little less celebrity treatment for that guy versus a guy who works at the Budweiser plant in Van Nuys? Because I think, first off, nothing's lower than what I get. So I would always tie the Budweiser guy. But I think the Budweiser guy gets a little buildup because he has that job that's not very glamorous and not very interesting and not whatever. And I've had it slip. Like my mean grandma would say things, toward the end, once I was a celebrity. She'd like say stuff, and then every once in a while she'd go, I don't need to be building you up like everyone around. You know what I mean? Like you need to be... Yes. Yeah. It's always the job of grandma to tamp you down. Sure. I love it. Yeah. All good. Yeah, all good Tatas out there, Tata Maries or Nanas. Make sure that your grandchildren aren't soaring too high with self-esteem. You always tamp them down.
Tethered. That's my job as a grandmother.
Couple of notches. Yeah, she would always go like, I'm not one of these people. Yeah, I know. But by the way, I've known you for 37 years, bitch. I understand that's your MO.
Don't need to establish.
Don't need to establish.
Now, you'd be getting your Golden Globe and shit, giving a speech, thanking her, and she'd be like, sit down.
Right.
Sit. Who are you?
So do you guys think that the average sort of, I'm not talking about George Clooney, but I'm just talking about your sort of work-a-day comic celeb, the guys and gals who do that, who head out versus the guy who just works at the Budweiser factory in Van Nuys. I feel like there's a little, I feel like the home life trying to boost that guy up a little bit. I don't know. Fitzdog, take?
Oh, you're saying who gets treated better at home?
Yes.
Oh, God, yeah. The guy, because you feel guilty. I mean, the fact that you make the money you make, I can't imagine you feel like you deserve it. Like nobody does. It's not proportionate. I know you work really hard, but it's also kind of a fluke. And I feel the same way about me. And I make a lot less money than you, and I feel guilty about it. So you take it. You take that beating at home. Whereas the Budweiser guy, he was in a forklift sweating his ass off in the sun for working a double. And you get him when you get home, he's not having it.
Yeah. So no comic has ever come off the road and had his wife say, wow, 55 minutes straight of doing jizz jokes at Hilarities. Someone needs a shoulder rub.
Kick those shoes off, big man.
Exactly. And she's just assuming that I cheated on her on the road. So I got to deal with that. Even though I didn't, I got to take the fucking hit for it.
So you come home and you would quarantine.
Yeah, I'd stay in the back for 5 days until I could get a test.
How does that work? Like, what are kind of the rules? I mean, you got to wander into the main house at some point, right?
Yeah, no, it wasn't super strict. I'd come in and take a shower and get dressed. And, if nobody was home, I'd stay in the house. But then when people were like, we'd have dinner in the backyard. And I would sleep in, we have like a guest house in the back. So it's got like a full bedroom and a TV. I didn't suffer. But I just feel like, if my wife were to get sick, that would really bum her out. That would be bad. And my daughter especially, she loves working at a daycare, and so I got to watch out for them.
Well, your wife would be especially pissed because you obviously caught COVID from the whore you were banging.
I was going to say, you got to take the hit from not having affairs on the road. It's like bringing herpes home.
I don't mind the fucking dick lice you got, but that cough.
Well, but couldn't one argue that them working in the medical field isn't it possible that they need to quarantine? Like if they're going into a hospital setting or an office, a doctor's office or something like that, like isn't that a place where this stuff is spread? Are they heading like into your son and your wife? Are they like going into a hospital or where are they going?
Doctor's office. But
doctor's office.
It's pretty small practice. And there's not 200 people coughing laughter in their direction with no masks on for an hour and a half.
Also, even if you were wedded to wearing a mask, it wouldn't last in a comedy club because it is just, first off, it is nothing but food and drink. Food and drink. And the food is not leave your mask on kind of food. And what I'm saying is it's like loaded nachos. Yeah. Loaded nachos takes an hour to eat, one chip at a time. There is no, you get a small steak, you finish it off in 15 minutes, you could pull the mask back up. But the nachos or the hot wings or the potato skins, it's just a never-ending grazing. It's a nonstop grazing. Max Zapata pulled up some pictures, old zoo pictures of the old Los Angeles Zoo that he has archived, or that were archived somewhere.
That is a chain link ass zoo.
Yep. It's back when animals were animals. Certainly weren't your best friend.
That's going to hold back an elephant?
Poor Gita. Gita, baby elephant. Peanuts, candy, etc. make her sick. Do not feed. It looks like her environment's making her sick.
Yeah, that looks like Carolla's front yard.
That's right. More grass in Gita's pen than my NoHo house in 1975.
That's like a minimum security.
Yeah, that fencing can't be up to code for a fucking 2,000-pound elephant.
Yeah.
The picture we're looking at right now looks like the super sad, creepy version of the Animal Crackers train. It's just boxes of bars and boxes and bars.
Yeah.
You know what's weird now? When we now this is how we used to treat animals. We put them in a cage. Essentially, we're looking at cages, but we've evolved. And what we do now, if you go to a modern day zoo or anything in San Diego or Los Angeles, any zoo that was built in the last 40 years, we do their natural habitat. You know what I mean? So we go, these animals deserve, and we have to keep them in their area, but they need their natural habitat. Otherwise, it's cruel. But we don't do that with human beings. When we lock up human beings, we put them in a cage. We do not try to simulate their natural habitat.
No, we do not.
It's a lot of razor wire and white dudes with shotguns, and we literally put bars on them. Like, we have evolved with animals much more so than we've evolved with human beings. If you go down to look at an old-timey prison, or you go to one of these ones like, I don't know, Rikers or some place, Joliet or somewhere, place that's been around for 100 years, or you go to the Rock in the San Francisco Bay, Alcatraz. Take a tour of that shit. Looks about the same as the one that's in Lompoc that was built in 1987. You know, we have evolved. If you took a look at where we kept an animal in 1925 and then took a look at a modern day zoo, like a giraffe or a polar bear or whatever, you'd go, oh, that's a completely different environment. But if you took,
yeah, I was just at the zoo in Palm Springs, the living desert, and it's all African and North American animals that would live in a desert climate. They got room to roam. They're big sunken ravines going through they're trying to replicate the environment.
Although I think that if you want to recoup some of this prison money we spend, why not make it like a zoo where you can show up, you can get right outside the cage, because all we have on MSNBC are prison lockup. We love prison lockup shows. We're fascinated by that behavior.
Yes.
And they'd love it. You know, they get to yell at you. They get to yell all that fun, scared straight stuff. You know, like,
Poop.
I'm going to toss your salad, bitch.
Yeah. Right.
You know, which is
Get
fun
that drop,
for you.
Kaylin.
yeah.
Kaylin, get that drop.
Yeah, give me your fucking shoes. They'd keep yelling. Some guy pull out his glass eyeball and throw it at you. It's all the good stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, you'd wear goggles for the jizz.
That's right.
That's right. Is Scared Straight still on? Because that was like the greatest thing ever.
There's a new Scared Straight.
Yeah.
Oh, there is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As someone who's never ever missed an episode of Scared Straight or Lock Up Abroad or any of those shows, they don't have the traditional format anymore. Is that your understanding, Greg? It's not
I've seen clips of it on TikTok, but it's actually more hardcore. The guards are in on it now too. The guards will get in the kids' faces and they actually put their hands on them, which I didn't think they could do. But there's always that one kid who's a super badass. He's like 11 and you can tell, oh, this guy keep him inside because he's not afraid of this 250-pound guy.
Do they?
It's not as fun when they do the COs like, okay, run to that wall. Okay, run to that wall. Yeah, no. Go put him in with the Gen Pop. Those are the good episodes.
Yeah, right.
Do they have a white collar version where like you're 9, but you got caught embezzling money from like your school cafeteria and Martha Stewart's in there screaming at you?
Yeah.
I would know pain.
I would watch that. All right, let's see. Let me hit the True Underdog podcast here. New podcast by 4-time Entrepreneur of the Year, Jason Waller, by the way. It's real, it's raw, it's motivational, inspiring stories, and killer entrepreneurship advice. Jason is the definition of a true underdog. Raised in a trailer park, suffered childhood abuse, kicked out of his high school, and became a dad in his teens. He could have used Scared Straight. Now he's found the power from within and used his street smarts to start 3 companies from the ground up. His latest venture, Power Home Solar, is on the path to becoming a $1 billion a year enterprise. Head to True Underdog Podcast. Hear how Jason and high-profile guests turn their lives around. I guess there is a white-collar version of Scared Straight. Subscribe to True Underdog Podcasts on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or your favorite podcast app. It is True Underdog. All right, let's take a quick break, come back, and do the news with Fitzdog.
Give me the news with Greg, news with Gina Grad, breaking viral, all those crazy Trump tweets. Give me news with Gina Grad, trouble in the Middle East, celebrity drunk meltdowns. Need news with Gina Grad.
The news with Gina Grad.
Well, remember we talked a while back about how P.T. Barnum, a.k.a. Elon Musk, was saying, I'm selling all my possessions. I will no longer have a home. Well, he's making good on it, at least in California. He has now sold off all 7 of his homes in California. One of them was the Gene Wilder house that I think was purchased by Gene Wilder's nephew.
Yeah.
And he said, like, you can't destroy it. You can't tear it down. But the rest of the houses are just sold. One was in Bel Air cul-de-sac. The last 3 sold for a combined about $41 million. Now, Musk, who is now the 2nd richest person in the world, has taken up residence in Texas. Unclear if his girlfriend Grimes, who he had the baby with, Xaeaxii. Did we ever figure out how to say that baby's name?
You did, yeah. I forgot.
Yeah,
Shashi or something.
Maybe let's go with Shashi. Has also, we don't know if they've made the move with him, but Tesla and SpaceX now have operations in Texas. A new Tesla factory outside Austin is scheduled to open this year. SpaceX has a launch site in Cameron County. Wall Street Journal reported that Musk also filed paperwork in late October to move his personal foundation from California to Austin. So he's out.
There was I think Garrigus and Mike August sent me a article over the break. I think it was a city council woman.
Yeah.
Loretta Sanchez was her name?
No, that's the Taco Bell chef. Lorena Gonzalez.
Lorena Gonzalez. Oh, that was executive chef Lorena Sanchez for Taco Bell. Did you guys know that Taco Bell had an executive chef?
No, this is breaking.
That had to be rough for there used to be a commercial like executive chef Lorena Gonzalez for Taco Bell. That had to be a weird thing when she was at like a cocktail party and someone's going, "You're an executive chef?" And it's like, where you at? The Four Seasons or where you at? Spago? Taco Bell.
Say it again.
What? Huh?
No.
I said executive chef.
Oh,
I heard that part.
Yeah.
That's very impressive.
And where now?
Yeah.
Does it really matter?
Where can I sample your wares? I'd love to come and check out what you have to offer.
Yeah,
Is it hard to get a reservation?
That's right.
Do you have a car?
Yeah.
Well, then you can eat at my restaurant.
Oh, cool.
I get it. It's one of those pop-up restaurants, so you'll give us the address.
Okay, you got to follow you. Okay, where
it's like
we go?
a speakeasy, right?
Yeah, you ask where, but if I said I was a general in the Army, do you really need to know what Army? Do you know what I mean?
What are
No, but you said the Army, so...
Yeah.
The wait staff, is it formal? Is it tuxedo or what do they wear?
California casual.
Flip-flops and polyester gi.
Oh, I love those ironic restaurants.
Yeah.
Those are really fun.
They're brown, so the taco sauce doesn't show up.
Dining in the dark?
I'm working on a dessert right now.
Oh.
I call it broken taco shells with cinnamon.
Deconstructed?
Yeah, I haven't really worked it out. I mean, it's still don't say anything.
No, never. Is this table side? Like you light it on fire with like a flan foam?
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
Yeah. The tables are welded to the ground and could hold over 700 pounds because we do have a lot of
Well, we're
fights.
an earthquake country. That's totally understandable.
Yeah, that makes sense. A retrofitting.
Yeah. We have a full service bar, which is you fully service your own drink.
Concept restaurant?
We do close at 4 a.m.
It's a late night.
After hours, a speakeasy.
It is a speakeasy. I knew it.
I'm also experiencing.
It opens at midnight.
I'm also experimenting with another concept, pretty avant-garde, called the fifth meal. We've gone up to 4. I don't know if you guys know that.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah. We do a brunch, which is anyone who wants to come in at 11 and order whatever's on the fucking menu.
You know, this is starting to sound a lot like a fast food restaurant.
Well, we don't serve fast food. We serve fresh food fast. That's been pre-made.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And the other chefs, where do you train them?
Oh yeah.
Cordon bleu? Mostly in the parking lot. It doesn't take. We can have you up and running and before lunch. You know what I mean? If you want to put in an application.
An application.
Yeah. I mean, is it tough? It must be a waiting list to get a job there.
Yeah, most people have GEDs, so there is a what we call scrutineering. You know what I mean? And I'll personally interview just about all our potential chefs, being the executive chef and whatnot.
Wait a second. This is one of those really fancy restaurants that does like a 501c3 where you find at-risk youth and then you intern and then they go off to.
They don't need a formal education.
Yeah. It's a really, really amazing.
Oh yeah,
like the homeboy.
Bakery.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that.
I'm also again, we're at a cocktail party. I know some of you are drinking, but mum's the word. I don't want you to start flapping your gums in front of this crowd. But think about bringing back the Bell Beefer.
Like an upscale take on a Bell Beefer?
It's like a sloppy Joe without the slop. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? You know?
Wow.
Yeah, you guys need any taco sauce? I got packets in my pockets.
Loretta.
Is that Del Scorcho?
Huh?
Taco Bell?
First off, First off, there's a guy at this party who asked me if I was an executive chef at Noggles. I fucking just turned around and walked away.
Don't be ridiculous. He's an executive chef.
I'm sorry.
I yelled "Good day" to that guy.
Martini. Martini.
No, first things first. Just because I'm an executive chef at a place that has a drive-through and that has a bathroom that you need to use a key for does not mean I'm not every bit the executive chef that many of these other highfalutin guys with their fake French accents are. All right?
Right.
No one claimed that. Yeah.
I'll have you know that I was the grandfather of the gordita. That although people had experimented with a tostada before me, they never perfected it.
Now, it's actually pretty amazing because you have created over 400 dishes in the last 20 years using the same 3 ingredients.
That's right.
And did I also tell? Yes. Did I also tell you that I was working on a dessert that's made of broken tostada shells and cinnamon?
You did mention that, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, that's the taco shells.
This is different.
One's flat.
Well, forgive my ignorance. I'm not an executive chef.
You guys, you want a coupon?
Coupon.
Yeah.
Why not? That'd be great.
You can always use one. Yeah.
Hey,
Please just tell me you work with ingredients that are seasonal. So,
hey,
you know, heirloom tomatoes.
You know that talking chihuahua?
Yeah.
That was my idea.
Ah.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. You're the executive chef and the CMO?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
I gotta kind of wrap it up here because I have to finish reloading the spring-loaded napkin dispensers.
Yeah, well, you're married to the job. You got to do it.
I mean, you got to work hard because I know that real estate for restaurants, for a good restaurant, is expensive. Are there other high-end restaurants near you?
Oh, sure.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we got a Pioneer Chicken. We got a Popeyes. We got aforementioned Noggles, which I've never set foot in.
Shakey's.
We got a Shakey's. We got a King Taco. We may even have a Henry's Taco. All the high-end stuff. All the other executive chefs. You know, we all get together in the parking lot of 7-Eleven after our shift and just kind of trade war stories. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like, hey, I tried to take the cheese, the liquid cheese out of the bag, and the pump fucking broke. And everyone's oh, man,
We've all been there.
Been there, done that when the cheese pump breaks. And had some rowdy customer that wanted the extra zesty taco sauce, and all we had was the hot and the mild, and that was a whole debacle. Don't get me started.
No Diablo sauce.
No Diablo sauce.
Waking customers. That's a lot of them.
Rousting them.
Go around waking customers. All right. Yes, Lorena Garcia is the executive chef over at Taco Bell, and Lorena Gonzalez is what's her title?
She's an Assemblywoman out of San Diego.
You're right. So I'll just read you the top of this article, but she's a genius because.
Yes. So the article is the Sacramento Business Journal, or it's from the Sacramento Business Journal, and they're talking about Elon Musk and the Alameda County authorities going back and forth over whether Tesla could open in Fremont or reopen in Fremont. And this dialogue was punctuated by a pithy tweet from Assemblywoman Lorena Gonzalez.
Pithy,
excuse me, who described herself as a progressive Democrat. She tweeted, "Fuck Elon Musk," but with the asterisk as the U, and Elon responded, "Message received."
Lorena!
And at that time, we had no idea how much that tweet and attitude would cost us. 9 months later, Elon's gone. He is selling all his personal real estate in the state, and he is now resident of Texas and has moved his philanthropic foundation to Texas too.
Well, all the nutty bitch Lorena Gonzalez has to do is fill like a $10 billion a year hole, and we'll be back to even.
Yeah.
This is such a fucking. This is what I hate about this state. It's like somehow this crazy bitch thinks that she's got more juice than Elon Musk and tells the fucking one of the biggest contributors to the state to fuck off. And he goes, okay. And then he goes to Texas.
Well, in as much as like, politicians, they work for us. That's always the thing, right? You work for us. We elected you, you work for us, blah, blah. Like that's like losing a client, or not just a client, the client, the number one client at like your advertising firm or your law firm or whatever. It's
Could you imagine
there should be repercussions.
Could you imagine a casino doing that to some Japanese whale who took a private jet in? Like, they'd fucking roll out the red carpet. But there it's like, you want to reopen your business? Fuck off. Okay.
Literally.
Well, he fucked right off to Texas. And he's there. It reads later in the article. He's working with the governor of Texas to get more people to move to Texas, to get more businesses. So thanks, Lorena. I appreciate it, sweetheart.
The governor's on the phone with Musk once a week, strategizing about how to get other California companies to relocate.
All right.
Dumbest.
We're like we have the highest taxes and we're last in like business climate. Like we hate businesses in California. So could we fucking change the attitude and the climate just a little bit and see if we could get some of these folks to come back or set up shop here? I don't know. There's some kind of weird pride that we have. Like, hey man, we don't fucking kneel before anybody, but they're all leaving. So that's not going to be good for California. There's a kind of an arrogance to it that it's confusing to me. Yes, and it's the ranking for business friendliness is the lowest. So we have the highest taxes and the lowest business friendliness ranking. So where are you going to go? Where are you going to go to set up your business, or where are you going to move your business to? Well, it ain't going to be California. But somebody should kind of rethink our process a little bit. I don't know. Maybe we need someone who's into business a little bit making some decisions versus just into ordering fucking people around. That might help things. But all right, Disney, fuck off. Elon, fuck off. I think Hewlett-Packard and Toyota and Nissan and everyone just fuck off. Get the fuck out of here. Okay. All right.
Can do.
Can do. The people seem to like Texas. All right, what else we got, Gina Grad?
Well, at least we're keeping our late night hosts for now, but they are back home. James Corden, Jimmy Kimmel, they are both doing the shows back at home now. The Actors Union, SAG-AFTRA, and other Hollywood producers have called for productions to be suspended indefinitely until more hospital beds can open up and treat the influx of patients that we're dealing with here in Los Angeles. James was the first to announce that he was taking a show back to his garage after returning to the studio in September. Kimmel also shared a photo of himself on Twitter announcing that he's back to recording from home as well. Have you talked to him at all about that?
Yes. He sent me, Jimmy sent me for Christmas about 80 pounds of macadamia nuts. Because I had this bizarre office situation where I shared an office with him and Danny Two Sheets Kellison for many years. And the two guys I shared an office with loved Scrabble and hated nuts. Not were allergic to nuts, just didn't like nuts. And I love nuts and I hate Scrabble.
Not a big Scrabble enthusiast?
Not a big Scrabble kid. So I was just sitting there, and I would yell at him. I'd go, but you like macadamia nuts, right? That's the fucking best, right? And they'd go, I don't know, not so much. And I'd be like, who doesn't like macadamia? That's like the greatest thing. The greatest thing ever is that little can of the super greasy, salty ones. That, somebody would come home from Hawaii and go, I bought you $4 worth of fucking nuts. They never liked it. So anyway, I picked up this box around the holidays that was dropped off at my front door, and the thing weighed 80 pounds. I was like, what the fuck is in this box? And I opened it up, and it was like 10 jumbo sacks of macadamia nuts from Costco. that Jimmy had sent over.
Good.
So now I have to eat my way through these fucking nuts.
Where are you going to store those?
I got them. I got them socked away. Also, I was watching Entertainment Tonight or Extra or whatever it was.
You were cheating on TMZ?
Oh, no. It comes on after TMZ, Brian.
Okay, sorry.
Ugh. Jesus Christ.
What's wrong with you?
Check your guide, dude.
Sorry, bud.
And your privilege. James Corden was explaining that this year is the year he's going to drop the weight. This is going to be the year. Okay. And, maybe James Corden is the male Adele. Like, maybe he's going to be really beautiful. Like, maybe it's just the weight. You know what I mean? Like, no one ever says to Danny DeVito, if you would just drop 30 pounds, you'd be so hot. No. You know what I mean? But
no, you can envision James Corden as like a really handsome, like chiseled face minus, 60 pounds or whatever it is.
Yeah, his face doesn't match his body. He's got the face of a cute 185-pound British guy.
He's got the accent. He's got the full head of hair.
Yeah.
I don't know. He's tall enough. He's got the right features and bones and everything. It's just the weight.
He could be David Beckham minus 70 pounds.
I mean it. If he got really ripped and really fit and whatever, he'd just be a hot, hunky dude. But let me ask this to Fitzdog. Should his wife be rooting for him?
Oh, interesting.
Let's really, I'm going to tease that. I'm going to tease it because really drill down on that. He's rich. He can sing. He's got the most attractive quality for women, which is, oh, you're not gay? That's the most attractive quality because that means all the good stuff of the gay minus the cocksucking, right? It's all the fucking singing and the musicals and the well-read and the well-coiffed and I got everything minus the cornhole.
Is that a gay thing?
Oh, yes.
Reading?
Oh,
I didn't know reading was a gay.
Come on.
Yes, they sit around and read all day.
They cross their legs like this and they read.
Very cultured.
What kind of things are they reading?
Well,
Adam?
obviously Moby Dick, because it just sounds like a huge cock novel. They read. They're readers. They're not fucking out fucking felling trees or sawing logs or changing the oil and their transmission oil and their El Camino.
Refinishing their deck with used motor oil.
Yeah, they're fucking indoors reading.
Yeah, reading.
They're well-read. They're polite. They have all the things that women want minus not wanting their pussy. But you then add that in, and now you have the perfect gentleman.
Yeah.
So the perfect man. So I don't know how long they've been married, Max Zapata, but you do kind of wonder that if he dropped 40, 50 pounds and really start getting a lot of compliments, right? A lot of compliments.
A
lot of celebs, a lot of hot celebs coming on, passing along compliments. You know what I mean?
How did Kimmel's wife feel about it?
They're divorced.
They're divorced. That's
I
right.
didn't know that. Really?
No, actually,
Get out of here.
Kimmel.
Well, his first wife.
Oh, yeah. But when did he lose his weight during the first wife or the second wife?
I think it was more the second than the first. May have started down with the first wife, but I think Molly. I think he lost it with Molly, but he wasn't. First things first. Jimmy's not that good looking. He'll never been mistaken for gay. No, he is. I find him appealing visually, but he was also never like James Corden fat. He was like kind of husky dude fat. James is fat, but he could be Beckham. Like if he really got lean and mean and did that like Adele thing where you just start getting really into it, or what's her name?
Rebel Wilson?
Rebel Wilson. Right. Look at Rebel Wilson. Look at Adele. Like you really start dropping the pounds. It'd be a good-looking person lurking in that fat suit. How long they've been married? Oh, married in 2012. 9-year itch.
Everybody knows it.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Let me hit Geico, and then I want everyone's take on whether the wife is really rooting for this. We got to see a picture of the wife, too. Geico, do you own, do you rent? Well, you do one or the other. How about you bundle your homeowner's insurance, your renter's policy with your automotive policy and save a whole bunch of money when you go to geico.com. It's easy. Easy to bundle. Get a free quote at Geico. That is geico.com and save a whole bunch of money. All right. Fitz Dog.
Yo.
Oh, she's thin and blonde.
Oh,
that actually, looking at her, changed my opinion 180 on what I was going to say.
Now I say you want to keep the collar on. You want that belly. You want the. I've seen it. He's not afraid to get in a fucking bikini brief and run around in the streets. And his body is, and no offense to James Corden, super talented. As we said, a fantastic pumpkin on him, but his body is brutal. And I think you want to keep it like that.
Well, you could kind of look at it. You could look at it two ways. Like, well, health. There's a health matter and a self-esteem thing and all that kind of stuff. There's also like, hey, man, this guy's an earner. He's dedicated to me. Comes home every night at the same time with a sack of money. Hosts a bunch of award shows. Everyone loves him the way he is. Like, it ain't broke.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
well, I was thinking, I was with you. I was 100% with you out of the gate. But now I feel differently because if you're not famous and you are a thin blonde who can wear anything and goes to all the fancy parties with your fancy husband, you want him. Why can't you look like George Clooney when we go to George Clooney's house? Why can't you look like Rob Lowe when we go to Rob Lowe's house? So I think she would like that Ken and Barbie vibe. I think she'd be encouraging.
Different angle. Not saying you're wrong, Gina. You're probably 100% right, but different angle. He has a type, and it's a skinny blonde. And those are much more attainable when you're... well, Chris, put up the admittedly bad Photoshop that I found on the internet. If you're James Corden on the right, that type's a lot easier to come by.
Yeah, we got Photoshop of fit James Corden.
It's a bad Photoshop, but you get the idea.
By the way...
I think the other angle is, like, for her, is everybody always thinks, oh, you want to be with somebody who's really good looking because that kind of elevates your status, like you were able to bag a hottie. Yeah. But I think there's another side to that, which is when you see a woman like her with a guy like that, you kind of think, take the money away, that she's noble, that she sees beyond looks and loves his soul.
Isn't there a Curb Your Enthusiasm about that? But she has character. She has character.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. I just I know how guys are. And by the way, I like when you posit he has a type, skinny blondes. Yes, him and all of North America and all of Africa. It's like, yes, everyone has a type. It is Elle Macpherson when she was 19.
That's my type.
That's my type too. This is a crazy coincidence. We should start a fraternity. Yes. I don't know. I would worry. I wonder now, here's the question. Is there something nefarious going on? Like, do you think he's brought home the weight loss protein powder and she's like scooping confectioner's sugar into it every night and shaking it up, Yeah, do you think she bought a tub of that stuff from the GNC, the big muscle weight put on packer thing that the 16-year-old kids from Iowa eat when they want to get a free ride to a college as an interior lineman or something? Do you think she's taking some of that shit and putting it in his protein?
Mass builder.
The mass builder stuff.
Like one of those mothers that gives their children cancer.
Right.
This Munchausen by proxy.
And she's like, he's on the rowing machine and she's bringing in a peanut butter banana sandwich with honey on it going, don't you want something? And she's like, love, I'm on the rowing machine. Well, I'll just set it down next to you. That's all.
Protein.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you kind of touched on this without realizing it. How insufferable does that person become to live with when they're trying to drop 75, 60, 70 pounds?
Yeah.
You don't want it. That's not a good quality of life inside the house.
And also, I think the first quality you're looking for in a spouse or a partner is deeply ashamed of themselves. So when you come walking into the kitchen at midnight and he's eating ice cream out of the container and you go, James. And now when it comes time to choose the next movie or what toppings you're going to have in your pizza, you win. Because he's shamed. He's knocked down a couple of notches.
Right.
That's whose turn is it to take the trash out? The slob that was eating the fucking Haagen-Dazs out of the fucking tub.
He doesn't even come back with a comeback. He just eyes to the ground.
Just eyes to the ground.
Yeah.
That's right.
That remote control isn't working anymore. The batteries are gone.
That's right. That's right. All right. Do we know what she does? That could help inform our decision. What if she's like a personal trainer?
Personal trainer.
Oh, boy. That'd be the best thing that ever happened to her. We're really all over the map with this thing.
I'm going to go with something that just has executive, like executive chef Lorena Gonzalez.
She's a former TV producer, got her start as an actress on Wings.
An actress on Wings?
In this country?
Jesus.
Yeah.
She's a lot older than she looks.
Yeah.
Wings is an old show, but it was on for like 8 years or something.
Was she the daughter?
I'm hearkening back to a conversation that Jimmy Kimmel and I had in Manhattan at like the bottom of NBC where they have like the swag store where you could buy like and I remember Jimmy walking in and the person's behind the counter and he's like, you sell any of those Wings coffee mugs? And the person's like, yeah, they're a good seller. And Jimmy's like, really? Because the show's been off the air for 11 years. And they're like, I know. People like that show. When's the last one you sold? You sold one today? And the person behind the counter started getting defensive.
Yeah.
Like, we don't sell one every day, but some days we sell two.
I'm not in charge of inventory, dude.
And the person got deeply defensive about the show Wings on the coffee mug. And Jimmy was just trying to poke holes in it. What was her? She must have been in the last season of Wings. All right. Let's bring it home, Gina Grad.
You got it. I'm Gina Grad, and that's the news.
Gina Grad.
That was the news with Gina Grad.
Well, last but not least, we got LifeLock. Increased cybersecurity attacks on pharmaceutical workers' phones and tablets. So they're working from home. They're using their phones. They're using their tablets. A lot of sensitive medical data on there, easily exposed. It's important to understand how cybercrime and identity theft are affecting our lives every day out there, by the way. You put your info at risk on the internet. Cyber criminals around the world keep finding new ways to steal identities. You can miss certain identity threats by just monitoring your credit alone. Good thing there's LifeLock that detects a wide range of identity threats, like your social security number for sale on the dark web. Protect yourself with LifeLock, right, Dawson?
No group events, all identity theft, or monitor all transactions at all businesses. LifeLock and see threats you might miss on your own. Join now and save up to 25% off your first year by using promo code Adam. Call 1-800-LifeLock or head to lifelock.com. Use promo code Adam for 25% off.
She was on the last year. She was on 2 episodes of Wings the last year, the British version. I think they already have.
That's why I said in this country. I imagine
There
there'd be
you
a
go.
Wings that launched 10 years later in the UK.
There was a British Wings?
Come on, Gina. Don't be naive.
Thomas Hayden Church was on Wings.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And it strikes me, and of course, Woody Harrelson was on Cheers.
Cheers.
They're both like the 2 most unlikely people in an ensemble cast to kind of break out and have movie careers, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like they were both kind of the weirder sidebar guys in their sitcoms. Bizarre that they broke off and had those kind of theatrical careers.
And both playing the kind of those wide-eyed, dopey men children.
At the beginning, yeah. Woody Harrelson's a legit great actor, too.
Yeah.
I know. It's just weird that out of all that cast, and kind of same with Thomas Hayden Church. All right.
Yeah, the British version was a drama as well. It only ran 2 seasons. I don't think it had anything to do with the American version.
No.
Oh.
There's just a show called Wings.
Yeah, Wings about the Royal Flying Corps.
Oh.
Never mind.
Yeah.
All
Never
right.
mind the last
There you
20
go.
minutes.
Nice work, somebody. But thank God it brought me to my mug story with the great Jimmy Kimmel. All right. You can go to AdamCarolla.com and find all the live shows we're doing. Naples, Florida, coming up January 15th, 16th. We'll do a Burbank Pickwick Bowl on the 23rd of January. Do a show out, a drive-up show, drive-through show, parking lot show. Fitzdog, Indianapolis Helium Comedy Club tomorrow, Friday and Saturday, and then Tempe Improv next Thursday through Sunday as well, the 14th through the 17th. Go to Fitz with a Z, fitzdog.com for tickets. And until next time, this is Adam Carolla for Mike Lynch and Fitzdog and Gina and Bald saying mahalo.